On behalf of Mickey Ibarra and Associates, the host of the Latino Leaders Luncheon Series, I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Capitol Hilton Hotel for a very special event in partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, featuring Father Virgilio Elizondo, the 2002 recipient of the Hispanic Heritage Award for Education. This is the 7th luncheon of the series that began in 2004 to provide an opportunity for Latino leaders and others together quarterly in our nation's capital to share our personal stories and to celebrate our accomplishments together, something that I don't believe we do often enough. It really is a simple concept when you think about it. But those of you that know me well understand I specialize in simple. And that is bringing our community together to get better acquainted, to listen to each other, to learn from each other, to really, I think, embrace a value that I hope all of you share, and that is to build each other up. Others may tear us down, but we need to be about building each other up. Don't you agree? This quarterly event is made possible by the sponsorship of Verizon and also the Coca-Cola Company. We are grateful for their support of the Latino community. And for today's special event with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, we also welcome ExxonMobil as a sponsor of this luncheon today. In addition, we would like to thank the Education Testing Service for sponsoring the pre-luncheon reception that enables us to get to know each other better. And also to the Toyota Company for sponsoring today's Latino Leaders Issue Hour, which focused on a very important issue to Toyota, to be sure, and all of us, and that is education. As I mentioned, one of the important objectives of our luncheon series is to get to know each other better. And so I would beg your indulgence to allow me to acknowledge a terrific group of leaders that we have in this room. We want you all to know who they are. First, former Governor Bob Weiss, who is now the president of the Alliance for Excellent Education. Governor. I mean, I've lived in Washington, D.C. for over 20 years now, and I'm so delighted to acknowledge local Latino elected officials in this audience with us today from the Washington, D.C. area. We have with us Delegate Victor Ramirez of Maryland. Victor? We also have Council Member Will Campos of Prince George's County. Will? We have Elizabeth Casas-Rey, who is the Director of Hispanic Community Outreach at the Department of Education. Brent Wilkes, the Executive Director of LULAC. Brent? Esther Aguilera, the President and CEO of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. We also have Alex Nogales, the President of the National Hispanic Media Coalition. Fern Barueta, who is the President of the Hispanic College Fund. Fern. We have Liz Burgos, the Executive Director of the National Hispanic Caucus of State Legislators. Liz. Also, Tom Oliver, the President of the National Association of Hispanic Publications. Tom. We also have Marisa Rivera Alpert, President of the National Hispanic Leadership Institute. Also, Michael Barrera, the President and CEO of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Antonio Gil Morales, the National Commander of the American GI Forum. We also have Tim Sanders, the National Association of Real Estate Professionals. We'll have some additional acknowledgments to make, but let me mention that many of us here will see each other again tomorrow night to celebrate the 20th Annual Hispanic Heritage Awards at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. We have with us Jose Antonio Tijerino, who is the president and CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, and we're going to hear from Tony in just a bit to talk about the wonderful work of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. But I wanted to thank him so much for his support and partnership today. And now our friend and former congressman for 7 terms from New York City, Bobby Garcia, will offer our prayer.
I just want to, before I take us to the Lord in prayer, I would really appreciate if you would all look at each other within your own table and get to know each other. When I first got here, we never dreamt that we would have such leadership all assembled together. Some of us old-timers, some just coming in, some who have been around. But I will tell you, please do not take for granted the fact that you are here today and the fact that you are part of a growing alliance of Hispanics throughout this country. And so you have a responsibility as you leave here and go forth to your own communities to make certain that they have the same opportunities that you have had. Because I will say this without hesitation, we have all been blessed. And with that, let us bow our heads. Lord, we do thank you for this gathering. We thank you for the leadership of Mickey Ibarra. We thank you for what is before us today, my Father. For so many years, people honored me, and now Mickey pays me a bigger honor by permitting me to take us all before the Lord, and thanks for the food that we're about to eat. Lord, I ask that you bless this group. I ask that your Holy Spirit be upon this group. My Father, I know who you are, that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and nothing supersedes you. So we thank you, my Father. Help us to be an enjoyable luncheon. Help us, more important, to get to know each other. Lord, we thank you. We thank you for all the blessings, but we especially thank you for your magnificent Son. And in his name, we all say, amen.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby Garcia. Next, we will hear from our luncheon sponsors. First, the Coca-Cola Company. Representing the Coca-Cola Company today is Rudy Becerra, our good friend, Vice President for Latin Affairs. Let me mention that Rudy is among the early leaders who helped establish the Hispanic Heritage Awards 20 years ago when he served at the White House with President Reagan. Rudy Becerra.
I just want to say the congressman, when he said old timers, he was looking at me, but that's all right, Congressman. On behalf of the Coca-Cola Company, I bring greetings from our CEO, Mr. Neville Lisdale, for our sponsorship of this Latino Leaders Luncheon Series featuring Father Elizondo. Also joining me today from the Coca-Cola Company is Frank Ross, an AVP from Atlanta, who is hosting our Coca-Cola table. Thank you, Frank, for being here. This unique event is a wonderful opportunity to bring our leadership from the private and public sectors together with others in Washington, D.C. to network and get together. and also get acquainted. Mickey Ibarra is a true visionary who created this Latino Leaders Series. And for those of you who know Mickey, you know his incredible ability to bring all of us together. Mickey, thank you for bringing us together again. This luncheon series is a partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, and it's also a personal celebration for me because, as the Congressman alluded, an old-timer who was here 20 years ago, there's a group of visionaries that helped me create the Hispanic Heritage Award. In fact, one of them who was on my original committee, Gil Coronado, who's a 2-for-1. He also brought Helen Coronado, who was part of the original committee. Gil, thank you for being part of that. I also want to personally thank Jose Antonio Tijerino for his leadership in continuing this legacy and bringing the Hispanic Heritage Awards to the next level. Jose Antonio, thank you very much. As a global company doing business in over 200 countries around the world, much responsibility comes with that right. We have to be a responsible and model business citizen in everything we do, and we take great pride in making a positive differences in communities that we serve. Instead of seeing consumers, we must see people. Instead of seeing markets, we must see societies. Instead of seeing transactions, we must see relationships. At the Coca-Cola Company, we are proud of the relationships with everyone that we connect with every day, especially here at this luncheon. Que disfruta hoy el día. Enjoy your lunch. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much.
We are also very grateful for the support of Verizon Communications, another great friend of the Hispanic community. With us to deliver sponsor remarks is B. Keith Fulton, Vice President for Strategic Alliances. Keith?
Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? You know, Mickey and I just shared a hug and a laugh because he's been asking me to speak at these since they began. And I've always said no, and you know how hard it is to say no to Mickey. Part of the reason I had been saying no was because I wanted you all to meet all the wonderful Latino leaders at Verizon. Folk like Emilio Gonzalez, who's hosting the Verizon table. Emilio. Folk like Magda Irizarry and others who have spoken to you during the series. But I also was waiting for this luncheon, the partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Awards, because the Hispanic Heritage Awards and Latino leaders really speak to my heart. And they say to me that while these are great Hispanic stories or great Hispanic leaders, Latino leaders, Hispanic heritage, really demonstrate what's great about all of us. These are great stories. These are great individuals that have been honored. These are great leaders that we have heard from. And they're great for everybody. And let me give you a personal example. You never know who you're going to inspire. I've been waiting for this one because, you know, Mickey would say, Keith, but people need to know that you've been behind these. And I was like, they'll find out soon enough. But here's what I know. My very first professional job was at the Higher Education Development Fund in the South Bronx. A Mr. Perez took a chance on me, some young graduate student with a bunch of ideas. So in addition to all the mondongo soup I could eat at Cuchi Fritas, he taught me about inclusion. He taught me about collaboration. He taught me about working together so you can make a difference in people's lives. And we worked together and had the most successful job training program in all of New York. You never know who you're going to inspire. So let me close by saying, Mickey, thank you for organizing these. the reason that I've said yes every time, and the reason that I will continue to say yes as long as I'm at Verizon.
You heard it here.
Is because this is about all of us. On behalf of Verizon, thank you for coming to Latino Leaders.
I mentioned at the top that we have an additional sponsor, and we're delighted with ExxonMobil. We will now hear from Leonard James, Business Development Manager of ExxonMobil Corporation. Leonard.
Mickey, let me just go on the record to say that I'm not up here to say yes. But, you know, I do also enjoy these types of things, and it gives me great pleasure to represent ExxonMobil today for a couple of reasons. Tony and a lot of his folks have heard me say that I think that I have an opportunity to represent one of the world's best companies to work for. I think I have the absolute best job within our company because I get an opportunity to come and represent our company at activities like this. And you also see the richness, the uniqueness, the goodness in the different types of culture that we have in this wonderful country that we're all able to live, work, and play in. I often think about that we talk about that our lives are actually made up of the breaths that we take. But being around Tony and his organization, you find out that it's not really about the breaths that we take, but it's about those moments that take our breath away. And Tony, your organization for ExxonMobil, in the 6 or 7 years that we've been associated with you and your organization, has been one of those moments because you find out, particularly in the area of minority children, our kids are a lot like Polaroid film. Now, for those of you who go back that far before we kind of had the digital age, and I like to use that analogy because the only thing that they really need in a lot of cases is exposure. And through programs like the Hispanic Heritage Awards and those activities, it gives our children an opportunity to show their best and begin to blossom. We are a proud sponsor of today's luncheon, and as I kind of look around the room, I do see so many friends, whether it's Brent and Rosa and Gabby with LULAC. Michael, I guess we were just in your office last week and sitting and kind of talking through some things that we as ExxonMobil will be doing with the chamber. We mentioned Fern earlier, but it's a very unique relationship that we share with this community. I want to show you a little bit about what we talk about success looks like, and Tony's heard me talk about this before. And in my mind, success is defined when preparation meets opportunity. When preparation meets opportunity. Brandon, could you come up here just a second, please? This is the future. This is what our future looks like. And this is why these moments are so special to me personally. Now you see why he's going to be great? I'm going to work for this guy one day. But I met this young man when he came through Tony's program as a graduating senior. And it's been amazing to see him grow and mature. He's now graduating college, about to enter grad school, University of Texas, I might add, for anybody here from that neck of the woods. But you know, when you are in the company of wonderful sponsors like Verizon and Coca-Cola and the company that I work for, and we do get a chance to stand up here and talk about our companies quite a bit, it's really not about us. It's really about a young man like him who, if you go back to success is where preparation meets opportunity, he's going through the process of preparing himself. And then it becomes the obligation of Verizon, Coca-Cola, and the Exxon Mobils of the world to provide those opportunities. So I think the challenge that we all face, not only the three sponsors here, but all of us who have the opportunity to provide employment and guidance, is to make sure within that equation that we hold up our end of the bargain, just like Brandon is doing today. So Brandon, my hat's off to you. It's been a pleasure knowing you for these last months.
Done there, yeah.
I want to thank our sponsors again for making today's event possible. Lunch will now be served, and then we'll resume our speaking program. Thank you. In 2006, the Latino Leaders Luncheon Series expanded its media coverage with the addition of key media partners in both Spanish and English, to include the Hispanic Communications Network, El Tiempo Latino newspaper, the Latino Leaders magazine, and HITN TV, who on June 24th broadcast this event nationally for the first time on Dish TV, DirecTV, and other cable providers. Please join me in thanking our media partners. There are several other guests that have arrived that I would like to acknowledge. First and foremost, the Senate President of Puerto Rico, Senator Kenneth McClintock. We also have a very special friend of the Latino community here with us, NDN's President and CEO, Simon Rosenberg. Simon. Before Father Elizondo is introduced, Jose Antonio Tijerino, President and CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, will provide a report on the good work underway at HHF to celebrate our leadership and to prepare the next generation of Hispanic leaders. Tony is a passionate advocate for all of you that know him, and a passionate advocate for our youth as well. He is skilled and experienced beyond his years, I can assure you. And I want to express again my gratitude to him for his leadership and partnership with the Latino Leaders Luncheon Series today. Please join me in welcoming Jose Antonio Tijerino.
Thank you, Mickey. You're the best. You know, and we're in the city where Harry Truman famously said, if you want a friend in Washington, buy a dog. Well, I'm updating that. I'm going to say, meet Mickey. So you can have a good friend in town. Yeah, it's true, though. I remember when Mickey and I sat down at Sexto Censo, and we hatched out a plan to try to work more closely together. And here we are. So it's all about reaching out and building relationships. And truly, that's what Mickey does for us all 4 times a year. And it's almost like that kind of, duplicitous mom that is sneaking around fixing you up with people and you don't really realize it until you're sitting next to them in a movie theater or something. That's what Mickey's like. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm on a date. So, Mickey, thank you for bringing us all together. Truly, I know that's your purpose. And you always say it's all about relationships. And speaking of relationships, I'm thrilled to have our good friends from ExxonMobil, especially my man Leonard James, who's hosting us today, along with our friends from Verizon and Rudy from Coca-Cola. They are not successful as they are without being very smart, and they are truly invested in our programs that focus on education, especially with math and engineering. Leonard also knows the importance of bringing minority communities together to work together as a team to lift our individual communities as well as collectively, and that's good for America. So I want to thank Leonard again for that. And personally, I'm thrilled to be invited to these lunches. I've been privileged to hear my name called out as Mickey recognizes some of us in the beginning of it, especially when I'm among very important people that I've admired over the years in terms of the hard work that they do in the communities, and it really is humbling, many of whom represent the host organizations that host our Hispanic Heritage Awards every year and our partners organizations. So I keep wondering if at the end of one of these somebody's going to ask me to clear the tables or something, but it hasn't happened yet, so thanks, Mickey, for always including me. Our relationship with the Latino leaders certainly makes sense, considering we're a leadership organization. And since I took over 5 years ago, our mission has expanded to identifying, inspiring, promoting, and preparing Latino leaders. We accomplish that mission through our year-round programs, which include the Youth Awards, Speakers Bureau, Latinos on Fast Track called LOFT, and the Hispanic Heritage Online Network, and certainly the Hispanic Heritage Awards, which will be at the Kennedy Center tomorrow night. The difference is that now that is a culmination of our year-round efforts, where I think at one point it was considered pretty much the staple of what we were doing. It's a little different than that now. Those awards will be broadcast on NBC, so be sure to watch. Our friends from NBC are here, September 30th. And the Hispanic Heritage Award ceremony is part of our mission that talks about the inspiration and promotion of Latino leaders. And sure, we shine a spotlight on some of the cultural icons that take the stage, but we also have the honor of telling stories of leaders like Dolores Huerta and my friend Raul Izaguirre and our chairman, Dr. Pedro Jose Greer, who's my mentor. But we also have here tonight some of the other community leaders that are here that have won our award in the past. If they could stand up as I call them out. Jesse Trevino. He won our art award the first year. Gloria Rodriguez. Carmen Delgado Botao. Valderrama Velázquez. There he is. And my spiritual mentor and good friend, Father Elizondo, who will be speaking a little later. These are the stories that America needs to hear as our communities continue to grow. And that threatens some people. But with these stories and with the impact that we're having in communities, it will serve to move America forward. And hopefully that won't threaten America so much that we're part of moving the country forward. This year we're honoring the glorious Consuelo Kickbush, Dr. Juliet Garcia, James Johnson, Antonio Banderas, Juan Marichal, and the legendary Jose Feliciano tomorrow night. And these... It's important that we identify with greatness and accomplishment. And that is one thing that I'm very proud of what we do at the Kennedy Center and on television. And thank you to our friends that put us on television, because the stories are being told about the great things Latinos are doing in this country. Again, I want to thank Rudy Becerra, who was one of the founding fathers of this thing, and Gil Coronado and everyone else. We're definitely standing on your shoulders. Nothing would happen without you. As Leonard said earlier, we're also here to celebrate the future tomorrow night, and we're honoring 9 outstanding National Youth Awardees. If I could ask them to stand up, they are positioned as role models to serve their peers. Can the National Youth Awardees from this year stand up, please? That table over there is truly going to move our community forward and all of America forward. We've got young men and women that are going to the top universities in the United States, and they also know that they bear a responsibility to send the elevator back down for more. And one of the things I tell them is that most of them are first in family to go to college, first in family to go to speak English. And you have to understand, it's not going to any college. They're going to MIT, they're going to Harvard, they're going to Stanford and Berkeley and everywhere else. And we have thousands of them because we're turning 10 years old for the Youth Awards. Even though it's 20 for the Hispanic Heritage Awards, it's 10 years for the Youth Awards. And I'm very proud of how it's grown. When we have 13,000 applications this year, 200 high school seniors were selected this year in 12 major regions across the country and received more than $600,000 in educational grants. That is happening every single year, and we break it down and track them and stay in touch with them. And to prove it, we actually have some of our past National Youth Awardees over at that table. And if they could stand up real quickly, including Brandon, who's running around here. So. But they can't stay at my house anymore because I have a baby, and my wife said no more. Sharing a bathroom with those guys is truly being committed to your mission. This year, the average GPA of our youth awardees was over a 4.0. That's over 200 kids. Now, that means it's higher than perfect. So anyone that tells me that Latinos aren't capable are out of their minds, because that's doing the impossible, right? When it's over the impossible. So I just want to tell you that also the young people are not just selected based on their academic excellence. They're also selected because of their community involvement and their leadership skills. And more than anything, these kids are standing on the shoulders of their parents, who nobly sacrificed for the opportunity to create opportunities. And that, to me, truly is the American way. So be grateful to your parents as I am to my mother, because we wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for their sacrifice. So when you see someone that is clearing your trays or cleaning your rooms or anything else, think about what they're sacrificing and how noble it is, the work they're doing, because ultimately they're working towards their children having the opportunities that these kids have to go to these universities, and it bears a big responsibility in terms of being a child of privilege, because you're educated. As our Chavez once said, once you're educated, you can't be uneducated. So you truly are children of privilege at this point, like all of us are. These young leaders are funneled into a speakers bureau, and that features all of them going out into colleges and high schools and grade schools and community centers and church groups to inspire other young Latinos to achieve and also know what's possible. Kid from your same neighborhood, going to a top school, single family household possibly, same economic situation. It's a very different level of credibility that none of us might have in certain neighborhoods. So that's something else that we've done. And we also created the LOFT program in partnership with the Hispanic College Fund and our friend Fern Barueta over there. We're systematically identifying, preparing, and placing these young people after 10 years' worth in major industries and specific jobs to bolster America's workforce. 2/3 of the overall workforce growth in this country over the next 15 years will be Latino. Less than 1% of that growth will be in management. That's a problem. So it really is important for what LOFT does and also other programs that I know other partners out here do. It's critical in terms of progressing. I just want to close by saying in the spirit of the issue session on education, one of our Youth Award categories last year was an education award. I want to tie it back to kind of the theme of what we're doing. So we actually created an award to encourage high school seniors to get into education as a career path. And, oh, thank you. And Utiquio actually was the education award this year, and it's interesting because when I asked him if he wanted to be a teacher, he said, no, I want to jump straight to influencing policy so that then I can make a big difference for the teachers and facilitate their success with the students. And so this coming year, in 2007, we're actually creating a Hispanic Heritage Teacher Award. So the young people that are selected from the 13,000 applications then become the nominating committee for the teacher that has made the biggest difference in their lives in the different regions. That teacher will then be selected, one per region, so it will be 12 of them, and then narrowed down to one national teacher. And they will receive funding to do whatever they want to do. It's going to be an educational grant to further their education, to better do a good job for you guys. But that's the first award, I believe, of its kind in terms of having a national scope and ceremonies where we'll celebrate these teachers' accomplishments as well as your guys'. So, and I appreciate it. In closing, I want to say that many of us in this room have different missions and different opinions And often it's the similar missions that cost the biggest fissures in how we work together. But all of us, and now all of us, have the common goal of moving the community and America forward. So everything we ultimately do dovetails, no matter what it is that we all do in this room. And I just want to offer the services of my foundation and my personal services as well in assisting you with your important work. It's really important that we all work together. And our friend from Voto Latino, Maria Teresa Peterson, and Fern can attest to, and anyone else, that anytime anyone calls me and wants to have a meeting, that wants to brainstorm, that wants to be introduced to someone that I know or a sponsor that I have, truly it's going to take a collected effort. And there's a Nicaraguan proverb that says, when the sun rises, it rises for everyone. And I think we need to keep that in mind as we move forward with our individual tasks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. We are pleased to be joined today by Rosa Rosales, the newly elected national president of the League of United Latin American Citizens. Like Father Elizondo, Rosa is from San Antonio. As you will soon learn, Rosa is a breath of fresh air in Washington. Her unfaltering commitment to principle, unwavering grace, and ability to listen to others. Oh yes, and the beautiful hat. She will now introduce our featured speaker. Rosa.
Well, first and most important, I want to thank each and every one of y'all who took the time to be here. I want to thank the sponsors, Verizon, Coca-Cola, and Exxon. They've also been great partners with LULAC all these years. I want to thank Mickey for inviting me to be part of this important, inspirational luncheon that we have here today, honoring leaders for Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm very happy, honored to be here with you all. As the newly elected president of LULAC, I'm elated and ready to work with each and every one of you all. Together we can make a difference, like the saying goes, and definitely Latinos and all groups need to work together. LULAC was founded to better the quality of life of all Latinos and the community as we speak. So I'm ready to take LULAC to the next level of activism, of course, mano a mano, together with each and every one of you all. I want to thank all the volunteers also of LULAC that are here. Where are my LULACers here? Because LULAC was founded of LULAC. I have our executive director, Dr. Lemos, Lisette, my special assistant, Elia Mendoza, and all other LULACers from the LNEC Center over there. Thank you all. This is what makes LULAC so special, because not only do we volunteer, but we also have to pay dues to be a volunteer. It gives me a great honor today to present someone that has been my mentor, great leader, inspirational, and I could keep on and on. Father Virgilio Elizondo. Sometimes you find people that make a difference in your life. And Father Virgilio has made a difference to just thousands and thousands of individuals. From San Antonio, Texas, which I'm very proud of because I'm from there too, he definitely made a difference in the San Antonio community. And it's one of those many things that sometimes, we don't seem to realize how important it is of individuals like Father Elizondo. He's been a strong supporter of the civil rights movement, a strong activist in the community, and supporter of LULAC for many, many, many years. As one of the nation's leading spiritual innovators, Father Elizondo had the 2002 Hispanic Heritage Awards, honorary for education. And you know how dear education is to LULAC and to each and every one of us. As we become the #1 minority, we have to have a well-educated population. And LULAC is here, along with all of you, to make education a top priority for all of us. The Honorary Elizondo has had worldwide impact on spiritual with his writings, lectures, and international televised bilingual workshops. As the rector for the San Fernando Cathedral in San Antonio, Father Elizondo blended Mexican religious traditions and cultural customs with Catholic service. While struggling with the church attitudes towards Mexican Americans, he pushed beyond a simple fusion of culture and religion, and soon became the father of U.S. Hispanic theology. Father Elizondo's most influential and widely accepted book, The Future of the Mestizo, Live Where Cultures Meet, discusses the outcome of the blended Mexican, Spanish, indigenous, and Anglo cultures that had its effect upon the Catholic Church, of course, in the United States, and of course, many, many other groups. As the founder of the Mexican American Cultural Center in San Antonio, which had a great impact with us, he has built a model for community-based religion education that extends worldwide. As you can see, Father Elizondo took it beyond just being a priest. And that's what he's so special with each and every one, as leaders that you are. You know, he took it a step beyond. And I think all of you, as we sit here today, all of you have taken something a step beyond. That's what is called of us. And it's so important because I've always said that it is not one person that makes a difference. It is all of us working together. And Father Elizondo has indeed moved past that one step beyond. Father Elizondo has taken at least 5 steps beyond. It gives me great honor to present Father Elizondo.
Thank you, Rosa, for those beautiful, kind words. You know, Mickey told me to be sure to stop at 1:25. So I was reminded when I first started our television mass in San Antonio, I was told I had 57.5 minutes for the mass. Well, I wasn't used to watching the clock in saying mass. They know our Latino parishes, it would have good music, good preaching, little kids running over the church and so forth. People don't look at their clocks. So I was used to kind of a very Latino mass. And one of the first Sundays I was on the televised mass, I got carried away because people were participating. And I got to presenting the communion. You know, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. Well, that instant, it was 57.5 minutes. So television those days changed automatically. Well, the program that followed the mass was wrestling. And you had 2 monsters going at each other. So boy, I heard it from everyone. From there on, I could finish the mass in 57.5 minutes. So Mickey, you can relax. I will finish at 1:25. In some way, bring it together at 1:25. I've always felt for us Latinos, it's not a problem to speak. It's just a problem to end. So I will try to change that today. But I'm very honored. I'm deeply, deeply honored for the friendships, for the confianza. Really, it's just beautiful to come here today and to see so many good friends and to meet new ones, people that I admire from a distance, as you know my name. Because they said together so often, it's together we make a difference. And each one doing from their perspective, up to mine from the perspective of a priest, from an educator, a politician, a business person, all of us are part of that team that will make it for our people and for humanity. I was born and raised in San Antonio, West Side San Antonio. My parents were immigrants. Mother came from the capital, capitaleña. Daddy came from Chihuahua, and they both came for the same reason, economic poverty and need. They came as young persons. Mother was 12, father was 13. They know any English, made their way in, struggled, met at San Fernando Cathedral, where I later became the priest. And San Fernando is very special because it was founded in 1731. George Washington was not born yet. And as a viejita told me one time, she was a descendant of the originals. My parents had immigrated. Her parents had come with the Canary Islanders in the 1700s. Said, pues mire padrecito. Our family was here when the Spanish people first arrived. It became New Spain. Then our family was still here when this became Mexico. Then our family was still here when this became the Republic of Texas. Then our family is still here when it became the United States. Our family is still here when it became the Confederacy of the South. And our family is still here now that it's United States. Padrecito, we don't know what country will be coming through here next. But we'll still be here. So you see, some of us have a sense of roots, of profound roots. Of having been there and started to make San Antonio. San Antonio has ancient roots, if you can imagine this, of 10,000 years of life, of continuous life, that's been coming together and mingling and providing for the people. So having been born in San Antonio, I became of that. But I was born in that beautiful portion of San Antonio where the only language, the only tradition, the only customs was Espanol. We didn't know any other language. We had our panaderias, we had our arberias, we had our tortillerias, we had our movie stars, we had our theaters, the Nacional, the Alameda, but everything was Mexico in the U.S. I think I grew up in paradise. I mean, people loved each other, our music, our songs, our traditions, and so forth, until I went to school. And that was the most traumatic moment that I can remember in my life. When I went to school, I didn't know what all those foreigners were talking. They were speaking English. I had never heard English. So my dear friends, I flunked the first grade. That was my first experience, and I hated school. I was daydreaming, I was looking out the window, I wanted to quit, but my parents, who had had little to no education, said education's a must. I'll never forget that, and I will always be grateful. They had not had the privilege of an education, but they knew for my sister and I, education was an unquestioned fact. We're going to go all the way. And so my mother stayed on me. I was so creative in making excuses. I could create any excuse you would imagine for not going to school. But you know what? They never worked. Because mother said, no, a la escuela, vámonos, aguántate. There's where the aguante became a virtue. Te sientes mal? Aguántate. Aguántate. Put up with it, aguántate. And I tell a lot of kids in high school, I tell a lot of young people today, that's an important virtue. If you don't like school, you have boring teacher, you have bad food, you have boring textbook, aguántense. Aguántese and go for it, And so I learned that from my parents. Finally, I had a teacher in the 5th grade that made all the difference in the world. And she was a German nun. But she took a personal interest in me. And all of a sudden, everything started to change. All of a sudden, rather than hating school, I started to love school. All of a sudden, I got excited. I wanted to study more. I wanted to go. From there on, I started to move from just barely passing, to making good grades, to making excellent grades. One person made a difference. One person that was not a Mexican-American, was not a Latina, but she believed in me. She believed in me as I was and started to give me a strong sense. Because I had been living, the whole thing, who am I? And by the way, in that time, my name was changed. In those days, you didn't question the teachers. The teachers could not pronounce Virgilio. That was just too big for them. So they named me Virgil. So at school, I was Virgil. At home, I was Virgilio. And I was reminded of this father that didn't want his son to go through all the trauma of the teachers not understanding Mexican names. So he told his son, when you go to school, this is the way you pronounce your name in English. And he wrote down very carefully for him on a piece of paper. So he got to school, teachers called on the roll, and teacher said, son, what's your name? My name is Pretty Near See the War. Teacher said, what? Yes, my name is Pretty Near See the War. So teacher asked him to bring his birth certificate up. Well, his name was Casimiro Guerra. So, that poor kid lived with that name afterwards. But anyway, to make the story short, because my time's going up, I went to school, I started to realize that going to school and going to college in those days was a privilege. There were very few Latinos in college. I was going to study science. I wanted to be a scientist. I actually my first degree in chemistry and mathematics. So those of you going for science, go for it. I was very excited. But in the context of going to college, I started to realize that as a Latino in college, I had an obligation to my community. And those were the days where segregation wasn't questioned, where low wages, all the evils were there. And we had in San Antonio, we had the fortune of having an Archbishop Robert E. Lucy, who was totally committed to the social agenda. He desegregated schools way before anybody in the country did. He really pushed for just wages. He pushed the Mexican American to get educated. He said he refused to believe that we were inferior to anybody else. I was very inspired by him. He was one person from, quote, the establishment that was really speaking something I could understand, made sense to me as a Mexican American, and seeing the suffering, segregation, exploitation, so forth that was rampant, was around. So that what inspired me to change from science to the priesthood, that the church could make a difference. That the church, because God believed in equality, because God believed in equal opportunity, that was the basic tenet of the Bible. Every man and woman, not black, white, Japanese, Mexican, every man and woman, because we're human, is created to the image and likeness of God. That every man and woman is sacred, and there's no one that's less than others. So I saw an archbishop that also was taking a stand that was so marvelous. So that's what inspired me to go to the priesthood. I went through the seminary, I became a priest, and I became a priest precisely at the time when the civil rights movement was going, when all the Chicano movements were beginning, when LULAC was going very strong. My father, by the way, had been a member of LULAC, and by the way, I had worked for the first election of Henry B. Gonzalez to city mayor, to city councilman. I had walked the neighborhood organizing bingos to raise money to get him elected. So I'd been involved since I was a kid, in all of this. But anyway, I became a priest when all these things were in motion, and for us in the church, Vatican II was in motion, where it called us as a church to be concerned about the poor, where it calls us as a church to develop a pride in the culture of a people, that a culture of a people was a gift, to develop a pride in the music, in the art, everything that made a people, and that this should be part of the church, that the church should not just be something European, it should come out of the people, out of the soul of the people. Those were the civil rights movement, Vatican II, had tremendous impact in me as a young priest just beginning. And at that time, we actually founded an organization called Padres to confront the Catholic Church from within, to confront the Catholic Church, to open the doors to the whole aspect of Latino culture and to get involved in education, in political education, in community organizing, in labor organizing, and to get involved in bringing in the Latino culture into the church. So we started to confront our church from within. At that time, I had the privilege to go to an international church meeting, my first contact with the international community in Medellin, Colombia, 1968. It was a crucial year for the church in Latin America, where the church after Vatican II started rereading the Bible from the perspective of that which is the core of the Bible, that the Bible is the book of the failures and sufferings and struggles of people who don't give up, who precisely amidst their suffering and struggle develop a new hope and a new vision and become even greater than before. So rather than seeing poor little me, that precisely out of the suffering there's new vision and hope. That was fascinating for me, to read the Bible from that perspective, that the Bible was a book of hope, of people that don't give up, of people that even take pain and suffering as a challenge to do something better and new that has not even been thought about. Read the prophets of the Old Testament. When the people were in exile, that's when they developed the most beautiful, fascinating thought. That's when they started thinking of a new heaven, a new earth, and a new humanity. When they were at their worst, they thought their most fascinating thoughts, and that was fascinating for me. I said, this we have to go, not just to do patch-up work, but to do something new and exciting, be not just for us, but for everyone. So Medellin was very important for me, and from there, I started to try to understand our whole encounter of cultures, Latino USA, and I found out about the center in Asia, the East Asian Pastoral Institute, that was studying the encounter of cultures, the encounter of the East and the West. And I went and spent 2 years in Asia. I worked in Asia, the East Asian Pastoral Institute. I studied anthropology. It was fascinating 2 years, living with Chinese and Japanese and Malaysians and Africans, and really for the first time, stepping totally outside my comfort zones and seeing myself from another perspective. It gave me insights into our own Latino struggle that I never suspected. It was fast. I had to step out to see in, to gain insight. I had to take distance to gain perspective. And it was a fascinating time, really marked me in my life. On the way back, I stopped in Mexico City. And this was one of the core moments. I've been back so many times. I have great relatives there. But I went with a friend to the Plaza de las Tres Culturas. I don't know if any of you have been there. I've been struggling with identity. Was I Mexican? Was I American? If I go to Mexico, no matter how well I try to speak my Spanish, I'm sure many of you had that experience. Bueno, para Pocho, tu español no está tan mal. No matter how much I tried, But over here, no matter how much I tried to speak English well, I'm sure it happens to you, somebody will remind me, well, for a Mexican, your English isn't too bad. So where was I? I was not at home here, I was not at home there. So I'd really been struggling with those questions of who am I, where am I, where is home, where's the place where I belong? When the Plaza de las Tres Culturas, I really had a mystical, powerful experience. I don't know if you've been there. It's a plaza where the final battles between Cortés and Cuauhtémoc took place. They were bloody. And now today you have the ancient colonial church over the Indian ruins and high-rise apartments. They have a plaque there that became a pivotal moment in my own thinking. It says, "En la noche triste, on the sad night of August the 13th, 1521, valiantly taken by Cortés, heroically defended by Cuauhtémoc, it was neither a defeat nor a victory, but el doloroso parto, the painful birth of the mestizo people, which is Mexico today. To be able to change from the categories of conquest, to be able to oppress, oppressor, victim, victimizer, to be able to see things not as either or, but as a birth, as a nacimiento, as a doloroso nacimiento. It's painful, the struggle, but it's a nacimiento. And because there's a nacimiento, there's hope, there's life, there's new possibilities. That changed my way of thinking. That experience really started to make me think a lot more. So to see that the great frontera between Latin America and the United States wasn't just a political frontier, wasn't just geographical. It was really a frontera, not as a line of division, but to begin to see a frontera as the cradle of a new humanity, as the birth of a new humanity that's been enriched by the sources that come into it. And to be able to see frontera in that sense. And it was that notion that we founded the Mexican American Cultural Center in San Antonio, Texas, to begin to look deeper at the dynamics, en la dinámica de este encuentro, where there could be a mutuality of enrichment, where we could all be winners and not losers, where we would all contribute the best, be enriched by the beauty of the United States, but not at the cost of losing the beauty that we bring with us from Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil. Challenged by friends, a friend from France. He said, come to France and do it with us. Well, I think the fascination of going to France for a while was more exciting than the doctorate. The idea of living in Paris for a couple of years, man, that was great, and it was great. So I took up the challenge. And I spent some summers learning French, and I went and did my doctoral studies in France. And it was another pivotal experience to really go deeper into our European roots, which are our Spanish roots, which I never fully had appreciated. And to see the beauty of Spain that had been kind of the bucket of Europe, that Spain had been the recipient of all the great civilizations of Europe, and had pulled it together about the time of the encounter with America. And that was us, the rich indigenous cultures. And I started to discover the African influence in Mexico. I never had known that. I never had known that the second president of Mexico was an Afro-Mexican. I never known that a couple of the states in Mexico are named African leaders. I had never known that Cura Morelos was an African Mexican, the leader of the American War for Independence. So to start to see that it wasn't just Europe, Native America with its Asian roots, but also Afro-American coming together within our bodies, within our blood, within our system. So I started to go and start to pull all that together into a doctorate degree. And through that, I was invited to work in the International Theological Commission, which included theologians from Europe, Africa, Asia. And so we would meet once a year and would publish, each one of us published one book once a year, which I'll make translated to 7 different languages. So that was a tremendous worldwide impact already coming in. And then we also started at that time the Ecumenical Association of Third World Theologians to bring Asian thinkers together with Latin American thinkers, with African thinkers, and the minorities of the U.S. African Americans, Latin Americans, Native Americans. And it was fascinating. It was trying to bring these people together. We meet in a different continent each year, sometimes in Asia, sometimes in Latin America, sometimes in India. And so that was a tremendous thing of bringing people together. And finally, we started to realize the importance of teaching. I went to San Fernando Cathedral, and there I started the television mass, which we worked with Telemundo, we worked with Univision. At one time, we had the most popular program in Chicago, in Los Angeles. It was amazing. And it was simple. We brought our folklore into it. We brought our canción, our danzas, our beauty, and people loved it. It was a Catholic mass, but con un sabor latino. You know, I mean, it had real sabor de chile con carne y frijoles. And we'd bring that, we'd decorate the church with that, you know? It was ours. And I had to tell you quick one, and I'm almost finished. Don't forget, a viejita was singing a song, Yo soy una oveja perdida que alaba lejos, muy lejos de mi Señor. Now, this is the way she was singing it. Yo soy una vieja perdida que andaba lejos, muy lejos con otro Señor. So I'll never forgotten that one. But San Fernando really brought to me the importance of enriching our religion, but then our religion enrich our movement. At the basis is a God who says, don't give up. At the base of God who says, because you've suffered, you can create new vision and new dreams that others have not thought about. And that's the work I've been doing at Notre Dame since starting to teach University of Notre Dame, that's 6 years. Try to create a new vision. Try to create new dreams where Latinos can be a part of it, not just at the undergraduate level, the master's level and the PhD level. We're very lacking that level. And we need to get into psychology, sociology, history, every field. That's our challenge. Today, my dear friends, I'm so grateful to God, my parents, my family, my friends, the people I've learned so much from. They've been my greatest teachers. And I could thank God never enough. I think today out of our mestizaje, we need to create a new vision for humanity, not just for Hispanics in the U.S. I think somewhere in our body and blood, we carry the genes and the chromosomes of all the peoples of the world already. Now I think we have to exteriorize this and come up with a sense of vision and dreams. I dare to dream, and I do dream. I probably will never see it in my lifetime. But I dream when someday we'll have a real new world. We'll have a new world, people of all backgrounds can really come together and enrich each other. Where people from a hemisphere without borders. If Europe can have a common Europe, why can we not have a common America someday? I know it's not easy. I know I may not see it in my lifetime. Pero ¿por qué no? ¿Por qué no? You know, for those who trust in God, nothing is impossible. My dear friends, we are a people of faith, and we're people that God is calling to greatness far beyond our imagination at this moment. And we can do it if we trust ourselves, we trust our God, we trust each other, and we work together, not our welfare, for the good of humanity. God bless you. Thank you for inviting me.
Father Elizondo, on behalf of our Latino Leaders Luncheon Series, I want to thank you so much for your commitment, your leadership of our community, our Nambe Eagle Leadership Award.
Thank you.
Padre Elizondo, ¿cuáles son los problemas más importantes que hoy los latinos tienen en Estados Unidos?
Bueno, yo creo que hay toda una serie de problemas y, ¿verdad?, como que están ligados uno al otro. Ciertamente, yo creo que el primero es toda la presencia de los 1,000 millones de indocumentados que están aquí. Y eso está surgiendo en Estados Unidos, un racismo bastante fuerte antihispano. Yo creo que es un problema bastante profundo, ¿verdad?, de la necesidad que hay en ese país para la mano de obra del indocumentado. Sin embargo, el odio que está fomentando, creo que es un problema de base. Pero segundo es, para mí, muy importante, la educación. Para mí es una tristeza, una lástima, un escándalo que nuestros latinos es el grupo étnico en Estados Unidos que más se sale de las escuelas y no aprovecha la educación. Yo creo que esa es una problemática. Y tercero, diría que generalmente no votamos. Y entonces yo creo que la educación política, ¿verdad?, para que tomen su voto en serio, que su voto es su voz. Creo que son problemas bastante serios que tenemos que enfrentar aquí en Estados Unidos.
En cuestión de educación, ¿qué está haciendo la Iglesia a nivel nacional?
Pues a todo nivel, ¿verdad? La Iglesia está fomentando, ¿verdad?, educación a las escuelas católicas, pero no limitados a las escuelas católicas, porque realiza que muy poco porcentaje llega a las escuelas católicas. Pero estamos fomentando en la misma predicación la importancia de desarrollar este don de la inteligencia que Dios nos ha dado. Y entonces a trabajar con los padres de familia que se interesen en la educación de sus hijos, que no caigan en la tentación de que el hijo salga de la escuela pronto para construir trabajo. ¿Verdad que es importante invertir en educación? Está abriendo puertas a todo nivel. En educación, las universidades, por ejemplo, católicas, donde yo trabajo, Notre Dame, está empujando mucho más dar becas a hispanos para que vengan a todo nivel, bachillerato, maestría, licenciatura, doctorado, porque vemos que a todo nivel de educación se necesitan más hispanos. Que la Iglesia haciendo lo que puede, no suficiente, porque la necesidad es tan grande, pero bastante para promover toda mentalidad de la importancia de la educación.
¿A qué cree usted que se debe el porcentaje tan elevado de muchachos que abandonan la universidad y no terminan los estudios?
Yo creo que muchas veces, o sea, yo creo que la tentación de conseguir un trabajo rápido, a ver la necesidad de la familia, a ver la tentación de que pueden conseguir un trabajo rápido de como choferes de camión o en un tipo de trabajo que nunca va a pagar mucho. Yo creo que la tentación, esa es la tentación de ganar dinero rápido. Y muchos de ellos no ven que hay que casi invertir en tiempo para poder sacar su título y conseguir un mejor trabajo y mejor seguridad. Creo que la misma pobreza a veces les fuerza a tratar de ayudar a la familia. Yo he tenido varios casos de chicos con mucho talento que el padre ha muerto, la mamá está muy necesitada, hay enfermedad, y el chico piensa que tiene obligación de salirse a trabajar. Es que parte de eso, la misma pobreza, y va a crear un círculo de pobreza.
En todas las conferencias que voy, principalmente hoy también, siempre se habla del tema de los muchachos que abandonan los estudios.
Sí.
¿Pero usted cree que se está haciendo algo para remediar esa situación? Porque
sí,
siempre se habla de lo mismo, pero no veo...
Bueno, no bastante, ¿eh? Para decirte muy claro, no bastante, ¿eh? No bastante. Pero sí vemos poco a poco que hay más jóvenes que entran a la universidad, a nuestra universidad con mucha dificultad, pero ya ha crecido el porcentaje de hispanos. Hemos llegado ya al 11%, comenzamos hace unos 4 años con el 8%. Es que seguimos atrayendo a través de becas, a través ayuda, a través de motivación. Creo que ese es uno de los problemas más serios que tenemos. Creo que vamos mejorando, pero muy despacio. Pero creo que no podemos abandonar el continuo esfuerzo de que los chicos vayan no solamente a la escuela mínima, pero a un nivel de maestría y de doctorado. A nivel de doctorado casi no tenemos ninguna presencia. Es que no tenemos para promover profesores de historia, de psicología, de geografía. A este nivel los chicos siempre van a ver con profesor uno que no es hispano. Y entonces, ¿verdad?, nosotros estamos trabajando mucho para promover educación a todo nivel, desde la escuela primaria hasta estudios de doctorado.
La Iglesia Católica, que está tomando una posición, esa posición pro-emigrante que tiene la Iglesia, ¿política o apolítica?
Bueno, yo creo que, ¿verdad?, es una obligación moral. Yo creo que el ser humano, la enseñanza de la Iglesia ha sido muy constante en eso, que el ser humano en necesidad absoluta de hambre tiene el derecho a emigrar y que ese es un derecho natural del ser humano. Entonces, cuando vemos el tipo de gente que emigra, ¿verdad?, entonces la Iglesia siente que tiene una obligación de ayudar a este pueblo, tanto en varias maneras. Uno, ayudar en fomentar más trabajos en países de origen para que no tengan que emigrar. Por ejemplo, nuestra Universidad de Notre Dame, el Departamento de Estudios de Negocio, tiene varios proyectos en México, América Latina, ayudando a pequeños negociantes a crear más empleo. Es que un aspecto es ayudar a los países de origen para que haya desarrollo, para que la gente no tenga que emigrar. Pero cuando la gente tiene que emigrar y es por necesidad absoluta de hambre, la Iglesia siente que no puede pedir papeles para quién va a ayudar. Entonces hay que ayudar, ¿verdad?, a encontrar vivienda, a encontrar trabajo. Y también hablar, ¿verdad?, levantar una conciencia de un tratamiento humano que es, aquí especialmente en Estados Unidos, de cierta manera hemos invitado a esta gente. Ciertamente han venido porque las grandes compañías que necesitaban mano de obra barata han buscado y aún han promovido en zonas de México, Honduras, América Latina. Entonces, en cierta manera aquí se dice muy rápido, son ilegales, son criminales. No es la cosa así. Muchos de ellos no saben nada de ley, gente sencilla, han venido porque fueron invitados que había trabajos para ellos. Entonces la Iglesia piensa que parte de su obligación es levantar una conciencia de la realidad actual de la situación del inmigrante. No de buscar quebrar leyes, pero también de ver que hay una ley más que la ley, que es la ley de Dios, de que uno tiene derecho a buscar hambre, a buscar comida cuando tiene hambre.